In a pre-Me Too world where club owners are sleazy and cabbies can't drive, Jake Ferris will teach Nick the cab driver about country singing and love.
Oh, thank you, God. It'll be nice for a year. Taxi! All right. Hey, how you doing?
Get in.
Ah! My car's right over there. I don't need a ride. Thanks anyway.
Why don't you get in?
No, matter of fact, I'm just down here doing this survey on little country roads, and I was wondering, what do you think of this road, this street highway?
I said get in.
Hey, look, pal, I told you before, I'm doing a job here, so just get this thing moving before I call a cop. You know, you're causing a traffic jam here.
There are a lot of bad movies out there. Listen as we try to find the ones that are so bad, they're actually good. Is it just bad? Or is it exceptionally bad?
Bad movies with your friends. Bad movies with your friends. Oh, yeah.
All right, welcome back to Exceptionally Bad. I'm Bracken.
I'm Nate.
I'm Ben.
I'm Brant.
And I'm Danny.
Hey, Danny. This is season 4 of Exceptionally Bad. The 4 seasons.
The season of 4 seasons.
Thank you. The season of 4 seasons.
Welcome
I love
to
that.
Seasoning City.
We're in the first season of those 4 seasons. We're in the season of rom-coms.
Yes.
Before we get started on our movie tonight, what is your feelings on country music?
Not a fan.
This is not
Me
a country
either.
music podcast, by the way, in case you're listening for the first time. But this is just kind of our intro.
We should, before we give our opinions, we should state everyone is entitled to their opinion, and
Even if it's wrong.
And we still appreciate you, listener, if you are a fan of country music.
Yeah.
So, country music's kind of a wide thing, right? Like, I like Johnny Cash.
Oh, do you consider
Yeah.
that country?
Do you consider that country?
I would say so, yeah.
I
would consider Elvis Presley got some country in him, right? I mean,
He's got the blues.
he's the king of rock and
that's
roll,
like
but
jazz. I don't know.
there's a lot of influences there, right?
And I would say, I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit I like Taylor Swift, and I liked her in her country days,
I liked
and
her
I liked her in her pop
since
days.
her crossover. I didn't like her in the country.
Does she make the wallet?
No.
Does she make the mixtape?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Country is a variety. Like, there's a range in there, and there are some artists that I like.
Well, so we went on a road trip recently, like just a couple hours away and back, we went to where like the FM stations were totally different.
Oh, yeah.
Living in California,
Right,
yeah.
there's a billion stations, and there was just a country station, and I remember this is a song called "Country On" that was playing. You know, kind of like "Soldier On" or
Right,
like "Push
yeah,
On,"
yeah,
and it's like blah, 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 "Country On." I'm like, this is the stupidest song I think I've ever heard. Sorry if any listeners love that song, but I'm like, that country I don't love.
Yeah.
Is that the country version of like "We Will Rock You" from Queen? Like,
I think it was trying to be, but maybe it's like "Loot Your
yeah.
Truck." Country on.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm just really ignorant when it comes to country music. I haven't really listened to a lot. It's just never been my thing. I'm a California boy.
Yeah.
Not that there aren't people in California that don't like country music. I know it became very popular in the 80s when I had my first job, and I remember Billy Ray Cyrus coming on the scene, and it became very mainstream country when it hadn't been.
Every once in a while
to
it
that
steps
point.
over.
Yeah, and there was a lot of crossover appeal to pop
Yeah.
culture at that point. So
I don't know country very well. I could not name a bunch of artists. They're clearly talented. I think the thing that I always struggle with is like the artificial twang.
Yeah.
You know, like it feels forced.
It's
and
not
I don't know if
even
it's not. Like maybe that's
artificial.
just like
it's real. It's
just-
not artificial.
it feels
Okay.
forced.
I'm from Kentucky. I grew up in Kentucky. And a lot of my friends love country music. I I have never liked country music. Luckily, there was a lot of other options growing up, so I didn't have to listen to country music for my own pleasure. When I lived in Idaho for a little while, everyone listened to country music, and I was like, is there anything else? Rock, R&B, anything, hip-hop. There wasn't. There's only country music.
Only country.
But I wanted to share with you guys a story of how I know that God hates country music.
Please
Really? Tell
Yes.
us how does God hate country music?
Okay, so when I was a teenager, my family was driving out west from Kentucky for a family vacation, and we were taking we had a family friend who had moved out west, and they left their pickup truck behind, and they asked us to drive the pickup truck out for them.
That sounds like a country song,
Yeah.
actually.
Right? Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Well, my brother and I were both driving age, and so we were taking shifts driving this truck. And in the bed of the truck, we just had like a car top carrier with all of our luggage and everything. In that car top carrier was my backpack, one entire backpack that was filled with CDs. It was every CD I owned and every CD that my brother owned. And my brother was a country music fan. So it was like 50%. Did you guys know I was a fan of Mariah Carey? So what? 50%.
We'll circle back to that.
50% Mariah Carey, Boys to Men, stuff like that. Okay. And then 50% country
Sometimes
music.
multiple albums of the same album.
That's there. There is probably the tape version and the CD version of the same album. Yeah.
We had to get a couple of different albums because some of them, like, there's a cutout where
The disc
where
art.
she used to be.
I feel like this story is going to
So-
say that God loves Mariah Carey music.
Well, it wasn't just Mariah Carey. There was
okay.
there were other artists.
And Boys
But-
to Men.
Yes.
And Boyz II Men, and Jodeci, and Bobby Brown, and all of this kind of stuff. Anyway, so there was the truck, a tire blew out, in the front tire blew out, going at 85 miles an hour down the freeway. And this truck that my brother was driving at the time, with my sister in it, flipped and tumbled. It was a terrible, horrible, traumatic event. However, everybody was safe, so that's why I don't mind sharing the story. Okay. The truck was not safe, but everybody survived with seriously the most minor injuries, scratches, and broken glass and stuff. No big deal. But as the truck flipped, it slingshotted that car top carrier 50 feet down the road, 100 feet down the road. It was very far away. And it bounced on the ground and popped open everything, and there goes my backpack bouncing across the median. Luckily, it all happened in the median. Bouncing across the median. Once we knew everybody was okay, I go and we're picking up all of the stuff, and I pick up my backpack, and I can just hear shattered CDs and CD cases and everything in there. We open that up, and I start dumping it out. I'm just like, this is, because music meant so much to me at that time in my life. Mariah. It's like, no, it's all, I bought all this with my own money and stuff, and I'm dumping it all out. Oh, good, Mariah Carey's fine. She survived. Oh, look, Boyz II Men survived. It's okay. Yeah. George Strait, oh, he's shattered.
George Strait.
Yeah. Anyway, we went through, and literally 100% of the country music was destroyed. Literally 100% of my music that was not country music survived. So, from that day on,
the
I
country
believe
music industry has different type of music cases than regular music, right?
the discs were shattered. It wasn't just
okay.
cases. Anyway, I decided on that day that was proof to me that God did not like country music.
That's great.
Wow. That's
If that country on song is a lie.
Did your brother survive? I bet he was crushed.
Yeah,
No, but his CDs were.
Yeah, right.
He wished he hadn't survived.
That's right.
Here's what really happened.
Ben.
All of the CDs were fine. Ben ran up to it really quick, stomped all the country music. He's like, "Oh, Drax,
I guess
God
we'll
hates
never
country."
know."
Your
Sorry,
brother's
George
like,
Strait.
wait a minute. Every single one of yours are fine.
That is crazy. It's,
Yeah. Anyway,
wow.
and it just mirrors how I feel about country music. So I was like, hey, God's on my side.
Well, I would not be able to tell the difference between George Strait or, I don't know, you name...
Or George Michael?
Any... Well, no, I mean, I know mainstream rock and pop and all that stuff. You know, that makes me...
Yeah.
Now I feel embarrassed that I wouldn't, you know, put me in a little strange corner there, Nate. But
Strange.
I would not be able to tell the difference between those artists. But there is one artist in country music that I would know.
Oh, yeah. Who's that?
Well, I thought that would be a good segue into the movie that we're going to talk about tonight.
Okay.
So,
Is it Sylvester Stallone?
It's Eminem.
Is Sylvester Stallone a country music star?
He's kind of a spaghetti western kind of guy.
So, a lot of people,
Country and spaghetti
a lot of people may not know, but there's a movie called Rhinestone from 1984. This is an older movie.
Yeah.
This was my pick. I will take the credit for this. I had never seen this movie before.
Yeah.
But I had seen the movie poster for it many a time over the years. So I'll just describe the movie poster.
Yeah.
It's got Sylvester Stallone. He's got his arm in arm wrestling mode opposite Dolly Parton, who is holding his hand.
Yeah.
And they are the headliners in this movie. This is a rom-com. Dolly Parton, I mean, I don't know if we want to get going there yet or not, but I had never seen this movie before, and we decided that we were, you know, this was my pick. I thought, hey, this will be great. We got together to do our recording, and we discovered that we couldn't even stream this movie on any platform
We
available.
couldn't pay for it to stream anywhere.
Yeah,
We couldn't even buy it.
We couldn't even rent it to stream.
Yeah.
So we had to do a different movie, and you know, I had to get a copy on eBay, DVD, actual physical copy of this movie, and man, I'm so glad it showed up.
Yeah.
Because now I can say that I've seen Rhinestone.
That's this season's Freaked. It's hard.
Yeah,
Totally. It's
so
the hard
to
one.
find.
So this movie that we're talking about tonight will be hard for you to find. Maybe it'll become available on streaming next month, and I'll be like, okay,
It's gonna
great.
blow up
Or-
after
or
this
It's gonna
episode goes
totally
live.
blow up.
Maybe it's on TNT every other week, and we don't know it.
Yeah,
If you can find it, you need to watch it.
Yeah,
it's on the
seriously.
country music channel.
Right.
all
Oh,
the
there it
time.
is.
Yeah.
Country
Yeah.
music classic television.
So
Its other
maybe
title is Ben Hates Me. Ben and God Hate Me.
Dolly Parton, you know, she's a country western music singer star. Makes her feature film debut in a movie called 9 to 5 in 1980. Becomes a great big hit. It was a comedy. Everything a lot of people know of the movie 9 to 5. It's one of my favorites. Makes another movie, a Little Whorehouse in Texas, with Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
A couple years later, I have not seen that, but then she makes this movie in 1984. This is her third movie. What did you guys think of Dolly Parton?
She is a national treasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think I've ever seen anything she's ever done in all time that I don't like.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't listen to her music.
Yeah.
But she is just charming
Oh.
as hell.
Listen, I feel the same way about her music. Like, I wouldn't listen to it, but in this movie, every time she sang, it was literally like a breath of fresh
It's a
air.
good time.
It was
Yeah.
just
That's
like,
a good point, yeah.
suddenly it was like, this is nice.
Yeah.
You know?
She was. Remember when we watched Xanadu and we're like, you can't say anything bad about Gene Kelly?
Right. Yeah.
I feel like that's the same thing.
Yeah.
You can't, like, she's great in every scene.
She's so charming.
She sings well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get a singer or something who's also not an actor,
Right.
can't act. But she was great.
Yeah.
She's not Meryl Streep, but she's not trying to be.
No,
right?
She's
I
also
mean,
not
she's
Mariah
just-
Carey in Glitter.
Right. Yeah. I mean, her personality is
She's
just so.
Dolly.
She
Yeah.
is. Yeah, for sure. So I think she's great. I mean, you're
She's
right.
fantastic.
I'm not a big country music singer fan, but when she starts singing, you're just like, yeah, this is great. Fun time.
Yeah.
Even just talking, like she was just, I was like, my heart is just
Yep.
so happy watching her just do anything.
So let's so when there's a movie like Rhinestone, let me just talk about why we are using this movie. This has a 20% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, a 35% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 3.9 score on IMDb out of 10.
Yeah.
So those are really low scores. But I just want to talk a little bit about what an actor has to deal with, and is often the writing, the dialogue in this movie. The premise of this movie is kind of the same story as My Fair Lady, where the guy makes over the girl to become...
Teaches her to speak eloquently.
To become a lady, I guess. Well, in this...
Liza Doolittle.
Yes.
The genders are flipped, and Dolly Parton is the country western star or artist.
Yep.
And I guess she's not really a star, but she's got a career. She takes up a bet to turn someone off the street, some average Joe off the street, into a country western singer to top this guy that her manager picked, and he was just bombed so bad. She's like, I could get someone off the street. Give me 2 weeks, and I could get him to be better received than your guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll take you up on that bet. And she wants to get out of her contract, and she's been stuck with him. And so she takes up this bet, and he throws in, you have to sleep with me if you lose, and you have to extend your contract another 5 years if you lose. And she's like, wait a second. But then she's like, okay, I'll take you up on the bet. She's pretty
wants
confident.
out pretty bad.
She's so
confident.
desperate, and she's so confident that she could get anybody to sing better. Because this guy that she picked really was horrible. It was just jokingly, it was pretty. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but just so bad. So that's kind of the premise of the movie. And of course, she picks. They decide that Sylvester Stallone will be that person that she makes over into a country western music singer.
Yeah. And when they find him, he's a taxi driver.
He's a terrible
taxi
He's
driver. New
employed
York.
as a taxi driver. I would not consider him a
that's
taxi driver.
He drives about as well as Jimmy Fallon does.
Yeah, seriously.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the dialogue. You would expect in a movie that's got that poor ratings, I was expecting it just to be really poorly written.
Yeah.
And there to be just stupid lines. What were your impressions of the dialogue?
I thought that there was a lot of clever writing, like as far as so many. There was just some really funny dialogue.
Lots of good one-liners.
Right. Yeah. And there's some really good stingers that Sylvester Stallone throws at the
heckler.
It's kind of
the heckler in the middle of the Barnett, the former love interest, I guess, of Dolly Parton. He just some really wow, that was so hilarious. Really funny stuff. I was really surprised at some of the quick dialogue and one-liners, to be quite honest.
Well, as we were watching it, we were like, this isn't bad. This is.
I mean, we were laughing a lot.
Yeah.
And we were laughing when we were supposed to.
Yeah.
We were laughing sometimes at it, but we were just like this. I'm like, why is this rated so low?
This was the thing that I feel like the writing was the weak part, but it wasn't the dialogue part of the writing. It was kind of tying everything together. Like there was really no flow that went into their whole love developing or anything, right? And it kind of just went from scene to scene.
Yeah.
Really kind of. There was no pacing. It was just, it was strange. And it was a story, luckily, that we all kind of know from other movies, like My Fair Lady. And it was like, oh, we can follow along. We know what's happening. But it was not believable. Any of that wasn't. The dialogue was great, though.
So
one thing refreshing about it,
That's okay.
is that, in the 2 weeks that she has to teach him, there are no montages of her teaching him. Like
That's true.
Every scene is him actually learning something from her. There's no panning around while she's teaching him to play the guitar, anything
That's
like
right.
that. That was kind of refreshing that it wasn't, especially because he's coming off of Rocky 3 and the Rocky movies have those big training montages.
Yeah.
So it was.
There wasn't also, along with that, there wasn't really any music video moment, right?
Right.
Where it
Yeah.
was just Dolly singing a song and there's stuff going on. I guess it's like a montage, right? None of that in it either.
Not that that would have been bad.
No, but it
yeah,
was just like,
Yeah.
you kind of expect it in that. But
And there was an actual progression. Like, you see him learning, because like at
Yes.
the beginning he is horrible, right? And
and at the end,
He's still horrible.
Still horrible.
he's less so, but
That's
like
true, he's
you can
less
see him like learning. Like
Yeah.
it was a lot of screeching and yelling when it started.
oh,
right?
yes, right.
You know, whatever, like just going insane, right? And like just completely spastic, like he's
That's
having a
right.
seizure up on in front of the mic. But he progressively gets better and better.
That's true.
So this movie starts off in New York, and once she decides, okay, I'm going to train you for 2 weeks how to be a country western star, she says, no, I'm taking you out of New York. We're going to, was it Tennessee?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm taking you to Tennessee, where I'm from, and that's where we're going to teach you. If I had 2 weeks, I wouldn't want the travel time and all
Oh,
that.
right,
I wouldn't have to
yeah.
deal with that, but they don't really have a lot of, we don't ever really see them traveling back and forth, so that we don't have to deal with that. But
Well, we see him when they get there on the bus.
Yeah.
there is that trope of we're gonna go to the little town and
Get away from life.
get away
Yeah.
from a life that we see so often in romantic comedies.
Yeah.
Nate
Which-
said it was the original Hallmark.
Yeah, the original Hallmark.
let's go
rom-com.
to Country Music, Tennessee. Is that a place? Yeah, that's
was-
the name of my town.
That's where the country
Music.
music is made, at the Country Music
Well,
Factory.
I'm thinking of,
Drink from the country music stream.
I'm thinking of other romantic
That's what they did,
comedies
right?
like
The stream.
Sweet Home Alabama
Yes,
and Hope
right.
Floats, where you've got the female lead who is leaving the big city and going back to her roots
Yeah,
and
get
trying
back
to
in
get
small
back to
town.
reality
Yeah.
to reset things. So anyway.
And Barnett couldn't leave his job to celebrate country music Christmas, and so the guy on the street is now the.
And that's why she left him to go and.
So we've talked a lot about Dolly, how much we love her.
Yeah.
What were some things about this movie that maybe you didn't like or were its failings?
A lot of the movies that we watch are a product of their time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's no way this movie would get made with this script today,
Yeah.
right?
In what way?
Just
Well,
like
adding the proviso that you would sleep with someone as part of a contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
kind of some of the misogyny that's.
yeah.
In it was
It's there's a lot of it, right? Like they're like,
just
let's put on some
ogling
some-
her.
right? And
yeah.
then let's also go for the extra credit bonus 5 points and
Yeah,
just
right.
add a little more. It made me uncomfortable a little, right? And
Like Sylvester Stallone's dad
Oh yeah, he couldn't take his
let's-
eyes
some
off
of that-
of
yeah,
her
let's
chest.
talk
some of that
about-
was kind of funny though.
yeah.
Like,
smelling her.
Oh yeah, smelling her hair while she's talking.
Okay.
It was the dinner scene with him eating
Oh yeah.
and stuff like that. It was just there was something.
just eating and staring.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was
a
hilarious.
running joke.
Yes.
Everybody knew Dolly Parton for for two things.
Right.
3 things if you include singing.
What 2 things are you talking about?
Her personality.
Okay.
No, but I mean, it was a running joke
Yeah.
in the 80s, right? Like, she obviously has a very
she embraces
specific
that
figure.
also.
She
She's
owns
very-
it. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a secret. It's not
Yeah.
something you can hide,
Yeah.
right?
And it's not hidden in this movie.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Not to say that she's dressing hyper provocatively. It's just, it's hard to hide those.
Right. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they lean into it. She's
Yeah.
good natured about it, but still, it was just like so many jokes and just so many things. And I was like, okay, that's
Well,
funny.
and it kind of played into that there were all these scummy guys that
Oh,
were
yeah, just
always
she's
coming
attracting
on to
them.
her and
Yeah.
trying to take advantage of her.
That's right.
and kind of
She could handle herself every time.
and it wasn't
did.
like she was a weak
No.
diminutive person, which
I mean,
was
Stallone
which was
didn't get
nice.
to punch anyone until
She punched out at least 2 guys.
Yeah.
Did she punch out 3?
I think she punched more people than Stallone.
Oh,
did in this
definitely.
movie.
Oh, absolutely.
did. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, he had that quick jab that finally knocked that guy
Right.
out. But,
At
like,
the very, very, very end. Right.
But well, I mean, even when Stallone met her, like they're at the table discussing the terms of this bet, but he only has eyes for her, and
Right,
he asks
yeah.
her out, and she says no, and then he gets upset and leaves.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's circle back to what were some of the failings of this movie, because I'm trying to get to
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we need to talk
So,
about.
for me, it was so Stallone himself. I thought was fine throughout the movie, but his singing, man, is so bad.
Okay.
It was hard for me, even when he was supposed to be succeeding. It was not pleasant.
See, that's where it lost me.
Yeah. It was not, and it wasn't not pleasant in the way that I don't like country music and I didn't enjoy it. It's like, I mean, even though I don't like country music, I recognize that it's good music. You know, there's a melody there and a
Right.
nice voice and
Good,
stuff.
good
and
tones.
And Stallone was not that.
See, you guys have seen Moana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how The Rock kind of barely makes it through his song?
Yeah, right.
That was like Stallone.
No, Stallone was 10 times worse.
No. So The Rock does a great job singing. So have any of you seen Mamma Mia?
Yes.
Okay. Who can't sing in that movie? Come on.
Michael
James
Caine.
Bond?
It's not hard. What?
James Bond.
James Bond.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Great.
I haven't seen it.
Bronson.
Pierce Brosnan
Brosnan.
Yeah.
is
Brosnan.
horrible in that movie.
Yeah,
Mamma
right.
Mia.
Bronson Pinchot.
And sorry, Pierce, if you're listening to our podcast, I know you probably won't ever, but
You'll be on.
I love you, Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
But
And if you want to
can't
defend
sing.
yourself, we invite you to come join us
Yeah,
on our podcast. We're
but you
happy
notoriously
to listen
can't
to
sing.
your argument.
This is in that same level as Pierce Brosnan.
I'm sitting here gobsmacked that you thought The Rock did a good job.
Oh yeah, I thought he did a job as well as in what's his name in Aladdin.
Oh yeah.
Robin Williams.
Well, you guys know that I love The Rock, and I have that blood oath to see every movie of
Right.
his. So it's not like
I did not know
against.
Wait, is he in your wallet?
He's in my locker.
He's in mine.
Oh yeah, in your locker, right?
But no, I don't know. I think Robin Williams was better as the genie.
Robin Williams was amazing.
Yeah.
I thought the Rock did a great job.
Okay,
think
well, I mean,
neither
we
of them
talked
were
about
as
how
bad as
I thought
Stallone.
we talked about how wrong opinions you can have.
Okay. Well, I dare you to watch Mamma Mia because man, this Pierce Brosnan, it's like it takes you out of the movie and you're like, oh, what is happening?
I thought you were gonna say Cher because isn't she in the second one?
I
haven't seen either one of them.
Oh.
Maybe Brent can pick that one.
Maybe.
Was it helpful how much he committed to it though? Like
That-
he definitely
yes.
went
That was
all out.
That was a good thing.
Let's
right?
get to Sylvester Stallone's
Yeah.
commitment. Yeah.
So I thought, he was terrible, but it worked up until the end of the film.
Yeah.
Like,
Because he's not supposed to be great.
yeah, because
right?
I think they wrote
All
into it
through
that
the whole thing.
he's not a great singer. I mean, that's the whole idea is you're taking this diamond or this
Yeah.
lump of coal trying to turn it into diamond.
Yes.
And when he
Yes.
sings the song Drinkenstein,
Blood is a pint of monster blood, and it does affect me different every time. But why are you created a monster, and they call me Drinkenstein, and they call me Drinkenstein.
that was just magical
Oh, my
moment
gosh,
to me.
that was-
because
that was
it's
amazing.
So bad, it's just so
Drinkenstein.
wonderful.
So
He's so wooden and
yes, and he hates every moment of it. It's
I want
great.
to talk about the scene where he first invites her to his apartment. And,
Oh yeah, and he wants to.
Tutti Frutti.
So Sylvester Stallone's character Nick, his apartment's above a funeral home.
Yeah.
And there's a line that he throws to Dolly Parton.
She asks, "Do you play any? Do you have any instruments?"
Jake Ferris. Yeah.
Yeah, and what is okay? So
Yeah,
what
she
happens?
says, "Do you have any instruments?" He says, "Yeah, I've got a big
I
organ."
got a big organ.
and and they actually have this whole interaction, recognizing the innuendo in it, and she's
Yes.
like, "You better be showing me a big piano." and
she's
And he's
like,
like, I gotta warm it up. And she's
Yeah.
like, no,
She's like, there better be some music coming out of that organ
That's right,
when
yeah.
we get up to your apartment. Right? Yeah.
and sure enough, he's got an electric organ at home because he lives above a funeral
it's
home.
part of the funeral home.
It
Yeah.
is.
So
That
he's-
do his parents own the funeral
Yeah, I
home?
think
I
it's-
guess
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
it is.
he gets there and he starts banging on this organ and just really doing the most obnoxious, horrible song
Yeah.
attempt.
Is
But
it
he-
Tutti Frutti?
But he's
Tutti
yes,
Frutti?
it's just
And he's screaming it the whole time.
He's going for it. He knows he's not supposed to be good, and he's not.
Yeah.
And he's like
hamming it up like crazy.
I mean, he's as annoying as
The Rock.
As The Rock in Moana.
Sure.
I'm there for you, Nate.
Please forgive my friend, Dwayne.
Anyway, he's as
Dwayne,
annoying
if you'd
as
like
you
to
can,
defend
you can
yourself, please come on the
imagine.
podcast. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Bracken.
It's just obnoxious, and
So you know what was interesting too, I think, or I thought that worked well, is Sylvester Stallone knew that he was obnoxious.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
he knew that he could not sing, right?
Right,
And you
yes.
could see that through, and he just played that
you could
off.
tell he was
wasn't. Yeah.
he was leaning into it really hard,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
overly hard.
Yeah.
And he kind of leans into it a little bit
Maybe
too
too
hard
Too hard in the
throughout
beginning.
movie.
Yeah.
Well,
Way over the top the whole time.
Yeah.
Did you catch that? Over the top.
Whoa.
The whole
Oh,
So-
I see what you did there.
level.
So we got to go back to that scene though, because he's so obnoxious, and there's a wedding or a funeral in process,
That's right. Yes.
which I thought was very clever.
Yes, it was hilarious. All the people are just turned around watching him because he's also extremely animated while he's doing it.
Yes. Okay, so singing apart from the singing, I thought Stallone did fine. Like
Yes.
acting in the comedic notes. Like obviously he can act, but
Yeah.
like
He was funny.
his comedy was great. Like I know most people don't associate him with that.
So-
It's like guns and exploding bows and
grunting
arrows
and
stuff,
punching
but-
people.
Yeah.
One thing that I will say is that I think if you went into this movie expecting a serious romantic comedy, you might be so annoyed at him. His character really was extremely annoying for the first quarter of the film, at least, where it was just like, dude, stop talking for a minute, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny if you listened to it and
Yeah.
you were willing to just laugh at it. It was funny, and it was intentionally funny.
Yeah.
Right? But it really was the kind of character that you're like, oh man, I can't wait for this guy to stop being on screen because of
There,
it.
like the opening scene when he's introduced in the taxi cab
Oh, yeah.
with the
With the Japanese people.
Japanese tourists that are
Yeah.
trying to get to
He's
the
trying to-
sushi bar.
Yeah, he's trying to convince him not to
and
go
we're
to
like,
sushi.
we immediately think, oh, there's going to be some racial stereotypes in here, but the racial stereotypes are all about him being an
Italian
Italian
American.
Italian taxi cab driver in New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was all
Totally.
reflecting on him rather than the tourists. And
Yeah.
it was-
The only thing I say stereotypical about them is they were just stereotypically polite.
That's
yes,
true.
yeah, and just kind of dealing with his bad driving. Anyway, it's there's some parts where I feel like he's probably the weak part of the movie, but I don't think he's necessarily. It's not that bad where
Right.
it detracts from the entirety of the enjoyment of this movie. And
I would say one other thing that was amazing was this is the first movie since Cool as Ice where we had so many costume changes where you're like, where was your luggage?
And he
yes.
had great shirts every time, though.
Good point.
He was in like a different outfit almost every scene.
That's right. Totally.
Which I appreciated.
Yeah.
So, one thing I want to say about Stallone as well in this is that I feel like, and this might be writing or it might just be him, and that is, this is a romantic comedy. It's about them falling in love, right? And there were specific scenes where they almost kiss, and it was like they all felt like they came out of nowhere to me. I was like, Dolly Parton is charming in everything that she does, and she was carrying him the whole time. But you never felt the same charm between them or from him, where it was like, oh, there's a reason for her to be falling for him, and there was no even feeling that he was falling for her until they're leaning in, they're very close, they're about to kiss, and they get interrupted, and it's like, oh wait, they're starting to fall in love for some reason.
So here's what I think the problem is. Dolly Parton is so dang charming.
Yeah.
That she reacts like that to everybody.
Everyone
They'll be
falls-
like,
yeah.
"Oh, Barnett, you're such a scoundrel."
Yeah,
and
right.
it's just, but then she's saying the exact same thing to
everyone.
to Nick.
Yeah.
And then, but for some reason with Nick, it's like, but I really like you.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So I think, whereas typical like rom-coms,
Yeah.
like it's obvious who the villains are,
Right.
and who the main interest is, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like you slowly build to it, whatever, and they have their little, oh, I'm awkward around you, you know,
Right,
like
yes.
I know the curves of your face, and be like, oh, I'm so into you now, but right, like. In this one, it was just she's charming with everybody
Right.
except for a couple slimy people, and even with those guys,
She's charming
she's
to
still
them,
charming
yeah.
to them. So it was like I think that's why it feels so out of context, when
Right, yeah.
they start having their relationship
It's like,
because
why is it different with him? There was nothing different with him from her point of
right.
view.
I mean,
from her
in
side,
terms
right?
of like rom com, it's like
Yeah.
10% charm with everybody else,
Yeah.
90% you. She's like 100% with everybody, and then
Yeah.
like 104% with him. So it's
Yeah.
like it's hard to read.
yeah,
So I didn't know much about this movie, obviously, beforehand, just that movie poster.
right,
But part of me thought that their chemistry was not going to be great.
yeah,
And I was surprised that the chemistry was there.
was better.
Like it was not horrible. Like I've seen some rom-coms where the
Yes.
chemistry is just not,
Not
there.
really there. It's completely
It
manufactured.
worked. Surprisingly, Sylvester Stallone and Dolly Parton
I know.
in a movie. It's incredible casting, but it worked. It worked in this,
Well, do you think
in my
that's,
opinion.
Do you think that's a product of her charm?
I think.
I think a lot of it's that. I
Just-
think his charisma too. I mean,
Yes,
he is
yeah.
likable.
yeah,
They're both likable. I can tell that they weren't like fighting off sets.
Right, yeah.
I think they got along pretty well. I know he talks very
Highly of her.
highly of her and his experience on this film. Their relationship, not necessarily he liked this movie, but
Right.
he had a positive experience with Dolly Parton, and I mean, how can you not? She's a treasure. So
and really, when I'm saying that I don't see them falling in love or whatever, there was chemistry in that they absolutely seemed
Yeah.
like they would be good partners, friends. You know, these two people like to be around each other, right? But it wasn't.
the building blocks weren't there that
Yeah,
that
it didn't
connected
step
point
up
A
into-
to point
right, exactly.
C or D.
Right.
That the pieces in between necessarily connected. Yeah.
Maybe those
I
scenes
hear
were
what
on
you're
the
saying.
cutting room floor.
Maybe.
So let me ask you a question. Who was better, Vanilla Ice singer to actor, or Stallone actor to singer?
Gosh. Oh,
That's a Sophie's
Stallone.
choice.
Oh man, seriously.
Yeah.
We're gonna cut that baby in half.
I would say still to singing.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Like,
just saying, like,
come on.
who made the transition better? Because obviously they're polar opposites,
Yeah.
right? One is black to white, and one is white to black, right? So
I think I gotta go with Stallone because I feel
I don't know.
well, you know, I can't
That's
really
so
defend
hard
it.
because it's also Stallone the actor the whole time.
okay, how about this? What if Stallone said, "You seeing me now"? Would that change your mind?
He says, "Let's G.O. back to New York."
Oh man.
You know,
This is
we should have
hard.
got more Stallone dance. We didn't get Stallone dancing until the final number.
Okay, so good transition. One of my favorite parts is when he's wearing. I don't even know what he's wearing. It's like he's wearing.
It's a rhinestone.
Like if there's such thing as like a glitter thrift store, like a rhinestone thrift store. He took like 6 costumes and all just stapled it onto one.
Yeah.
Like he's got
He
the
has,
weird
like 18-inch
glittery hat.
tassels all over
that
his
look like-
arms and.
Yes, he's got like the raccoon tail.
Oh, that
Oh,
one.
that
You're
one.
talking
Like
about that
pigtails. Oh, I'm
costume.
talking about the one in the middle. Yeah.
yeah.
The yellow suit.
Where he's just like dancing very wooden.
Yeah.
And he's like, what was that? Was the one
It's
Drinkenstein?
yeah.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah. Okay.
So, what were your thoughts about that? Right, like
The
'cause
costume or
it's
the music?
anything. Like it's a little bit of a turning point because it's like where he's finally starting to embrace cowboy life.
And
Right.
he's willing to try.
He's
right?
like, I'm gonna make an effort.
He's got that terrible hat that has 2 coon tails on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And red and yellow, bright yellow, that
Yes.
suit.
But it's also got like bright blue. It's got like
Yes,
these
it's
like
got every
some kind
color.
of animal skin shoulder pads.
It's almost like reminiscent of Jim Carrey in his costume in Dumb and Dumber when he's going into the town.
Oh,
He's got
yes.
that like
That
country
orange.
western top
Oh,
and
yes,
the hat,
totally.
but it's got double coon tails
Yeah.
on the hat. It's just unbelievably over the top.
I felt like it wouldn't have stood out if Randy Quaid was wearing it.
That's
in
true.
Freaked.
Yes,
That's true.
absolutely.
Randy can pull that off.
That was just
Yeah.
crazy. That scene, I loved that scene because as I watched it, I kept thinking, man, this was. I mean, he's not a good singer, but it was such a awesome number to watch him
so
sing.
entertaining.
I was like, this
So-
should be the final number. You know, the crowd would love this. This was
Throughout
great.
the movie, you can see Sylvester Stallone going for it.
Yes,
And you're like,
trying.
man, he is brave, and you kind of admire him for it the whole
Yeah.
time. You're like, hats off to you. I'm impressed that you would try this.
Yeah.
This is Sylvester Stallone Rocky. This is
Yeah.
post First Blood. This is, I mean,
Rambo.
he didn't have to do this movie,
Yeah.
but he went for it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, it's a train wreck, but you're brave. You are a brave guy.
But not brave in the same way as like Annie Hathaway in like Les Mis, where she lays it all out emotionally raw
Right,
on the
yeah.
thing. Like, this is an entirely different kind of brave. Like, you did what in what costume?
yeah, it's you've never seen anything like this before. But he goes for it, so you kind of admire him for it. Towards the end, he's going for it, but then you're expecting him to be better,
Right.
and it's just uncomfortable.
There was a progression at like improving, and I think that part of the wild tutti frutti stuff was to try to get a little bit of contrast in there. To like he performed much worse on purpose, knowing that there was only a certain extent that he could get better. Right?
He's like, look, there's no way we're getting you from an F to an A, but like if you're an F minus and we get you at a D plus,
Yeah, right.
that's a win for the movie.
yeah. But so he got a little bit better each time,
Yeah.
but just never good.
But even the times where he's tolerable,
Yeah.
it's when Dolly is singing alongside him and kind of
That's
she
where
is carrying him.
she's I mean,
Yeah.
so it doesn't
She's-
stand out quite as much.
Yeah.
because he is.
Oh, yeah,
he
can-
does not stand on his own.
She carries this movie.
And that's where it was the breath of fresh air every time. They're
Yeah.
singing the duet, he'll sing his line, and then it's kind of like, and then she'll sing hers, and it's like,
She's so confident. She's so eloquent, comfortable.
Yeah.
And she just would stare and smile at him and just kind of
encourage him. And,
encourage him, and he would smile back, and you're just like, what
having
is
fun.
happening?
The best way I can describe their singing is, let's say it's 115 degrees outside. You have one of those oscillating fans, right?
yes.
And it's just like, right? Like every time
what
that
it's
fan
like.
is on you, it's like, oh my God, this movie's
feels
great.
great.
And then it moves away and you're like, oh no, I'm just miserable again.
So, okay, that's a lot on Sylvester Stallone. Maybe we'll circle back to him. But what are some of the other people in the cast that maybe stood out to you, good or bad, that you liked or disliked, or what? What were some of your thoughts of the rest of the cast?
It's always good to see Richard Farnsworth.
Oh man, yes.
Who's that?
He is the sheriff in Misery.
Oh, okay, yes.
And he-
the sheriff,
and
or
he's-
and the
and-
dad.
Jake's
and,
father.
and he's Matthew. On,
Jake is Dolly
Jake
Parton.
is Dolly.
He's
Yeah.
Dolly
Just to be-
Parton's dad, and he's Matthew on Anne of Green Gables.
Okay.
Yeah, and such a great, lovable actor, and he was great in this too.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
And then Tim Thompson, who is Barnett Cale, the
Yeah, the villain.
kind of the Tennessee villain.
Yeah,
The
the ex-boyfriend.
He's one of those guys. He's been, what does he have, like 200 credits or something?
Oh yeah.
Over 200 credits.
He's
Yeah.
in
You totally
everything.
recognize him when you
you're
see
like,
him.
oh, that guy. He's in everything.
Yeah.
And I
One
thought
episode of everything.
Yeah, he's a guest star in every show.
Yeah.
And I thought that he was great from the minute he sings and meets Nick
Yeah.
to the minute they become enemies to
Yeah.
And
He stole every scene he was in.
Yeah.
Every scene.
I appreciated too that he wasn't, and I don't know how to say this, but like typical rom-com exes,
Yeah.
you know, or you know the lost love is an absolute just a-hole,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, how did you two ever get together? But he was charming enough that I'd be like, okay, I could see Dolly
Yeah.
dating him
Until she got
and
to
it
know
falls
him.
apart. And be
Right.
like, oh yeah, you're a little bit of an a-hole, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Because he's like charming and
Yeah.
having fun,
At
and he
first
can
he
actually
is,
sing, and
He initially gets along with Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah,
they're
He gives him
friends.
some tips on how to walk, and
Yeah.
How
and
to be, yeah.
yeah, be more country.
How does one walk country, Bracken?
So Sylvester Stallone has a hard time walking the right way,
Yeah.
I guess, to be country.
He's got that Italian strut.
Yeah,
right?
well,
He never
New
really
Yorker.
gets
I think
it.
it's because
Yeah.
he's muscle bound. Is
Maybe,
the thing.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably part of it. But he says, "Walk like you have jock itch."
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he does, and I guess that's how people walk
apparently.
when they're
That's
on
how
stage.
cowboys walk.
So you're from Kentucky. Is it just like an epidemic of jock itch down there?
Like it's really humid.
I haven't made a powder that helps yet.
I also felt like Sylvester Stallone's father's character
He was great.
stole every
Oh,
scene he
yes,
was in as
absolutely.
well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the father. What was he like? What was he doing?
So I'll tell you that he reminded me a lot of Sid Caesar. Every time I saw him, I thought he looks like Sid Caesar. But
Yeah, Steve Peck is the actor.
yeah,
He's only got like maybe 30 to 35 acting parts over the
Okay.
years. A lot of TV from like the 80s. I wouldn't have recognized him
Yeah,
or seen
I've
him
never
in
seen
anything
him
before,
before.
but what was he doing?
He was just so he was kind of a little bit of the Miyagi to Jake's teaching. So she was kind of like obviously he knows what he's doing as well. So he's kind of helping mentor Nick along as well a little bit.
no, we're
No,
talking
we're
about
talking about
talking
Sylvester
about
Stallone's
Sylvester
dad.
Stallone's dad.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
The
okay.
Italian
No,
guy.
okay. He was hilarious, dude. No, he was appropriately like I don't know, like 80s. Just the humor in the 80s was always like, my wife's crazy and I hate her. Like everybody's like, yeah, the laugh track claps in the
Right.
background. So he's like adequately that.
Yeah.
And then also just over the top, just kind of like creepy and weird, right? He's like during dinner, he's just staring, but I think he does it well.
yeah.
Well, it was bizarre. I've never seen a father. He's his father.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone's father, and you're like, okay, I guess so. But all the things that he's saying and doing are saying he's not his father. He's like his
Roommate.
Like the roommate that's kind of creepy.
He's like, hey,
and
if you need any help with that girl,
the
let me know.
sleazy, the
Can't handle
sleazy
her, call me.
roommate.
Yeah, if you can't hold her, call me.
Yes, exactly. And then they have the scene with the dinner, and his mom's bringing out all the food, and the father's just kind of staring at Dolly Parton, and
Never takes
the
his eyes off
mom
her.
is just so
Like
angry.
she throws the cannoli at him.
Yeah, because he's such a sleazy roommate character.
And then later there's the party and Dolly Parton's talking. He's just standing there sniffing her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
I would expect his
She even
like
calls him out on it.
I would expect his name to be like Badger or Clutch or something, like just
right. Yes. Oh man, like that's something
Yeah.
out Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Or I guess Teen Wolf 2.
yeah, he was hilarious.
Yeah, I just thought they stole every scene they were in, but
And I think we mentioned the mom when she throws the cannoli at him. And
Yeah.
And then when she at the party where Nick's like, I'm going to be a singer. And she's like, take the cab. Because that was part of the
Right,
bet.
yeah.
Part of the bet is that if Dolly Parton's character won, then the club owner guy would buy Nick his own cab.
Yeah.
But now he's like, I'm going to be a singer. And his mom keeps saying, like, take the cab.
Yeah.
I think the mom is the only one who
She's the voice of reason.
She could read the
in whole
future.
thing,
Yeah.
Right.
what about Ron Liebman? He was Freddie Hugo. He was kind of the main villain that did the bet with Dolly Parton's character at the beginning.
Yeah. So he's the club owner.
Yes.
And I guess the club is called the Rhinestone.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a country music club in
New York
downtown
City.
New York City.
Yeah.
Because that's where
And
they are.
this guy is like sleazy New York mob guy.
Dialed
right?
up to like 13.
Yeah, dialed up so much. And it's like, I had a hard time believing that he would own a club like this. And not just that he would own it, but he like spent all his time there.
So his name was Freddie Hugo.
Yes.
So he had his initials on his
Everything.
on his shirt, F-U.
Yes.
On his door.
shirt, on his apartment door.
Yeah.
And I think probably in the club
On his
too.
robe that he was
it
wearing,
was
his
just
kimono
everywhere.
that he had, everything.
But this club is like the early version of Hooters because all of the barmaids
That's right.
had lots of cleavage.
Yep.
Dolly Parton's the main singer.
Yeah.
And he's the owner.
Yeah.
It's just
It honestly, like, I'd never, if you saw him in a lineup, it'd be like, point at the guy who owns a country club, it would not be him.
No, it
if
would
you
not be
said
him.
point at the guy who owns a
strip club?
country-based strip club, I'd be like 100% that guy, Mr. FU on his shirt. I remember those initials, but like, I just don't understand like the country
Yeah.
Didn't fit
Hooters.
well.
It doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to me.
Yeah.
He was well cast though. He was not likable.
He was.
Oh,
He was
yeah,
very
he-
gross.
Yes.
He did a good job in the role.
He
Yeah.
played
right?
his part well.
You probably would have recognized him. He's been in tons of stuff over the years. So, I'm seeing he was in Zorro the Gay Blade, Norma Ray, Law and Order, Murder She Wrote, a lot of TV stuff. But Garden State, you probably would have recognized him. But anyway, fun.
I really liked the Luke guy. actually.
Which one was Luke?
So Luke was one of the what
One
do
of
you call him?
Barnett's henchmen.
Yeah, one of his henchmen.
big one?
Yeah, because one of it was the
the
smaller
other
one.
guy,
One
okay.
of my favorite things was when Sylvester Stallone calls him
Puke.
and he gets super mad. He's just like,
yells, "It's
Luke!
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
so
And he had to
funny.
cover his ears because he couldn't hear.
It just was really funny to me.
Yeah, that was
Well, I also appreciated how quickly he dumped Barnett.
Yeah.
when-
Oh, yeah.
So Stallone's just roasting him, right, at kind of his first real singing gig.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, why do you think his zipper's all rusted and his boots is yellow? And then, after he gets knocked out, Luke's like, they're like, what do we do? He's like, let's piss on him. I'm done with this guy.
I never liked him anyway.
Never liked him anyway.
Well, speaking of those henchmen, I did like the scene where Stallone and Dolly Parton are dancing with each other, and Barnett comes up and asks me to cut in, and they're like, no. And then the taller henchman guy, whose name I don't think we ever learn, he comes over and he just standing there, and they kind of bump into him
He's like
dancing.
a foot taller.
And,
yeah.
and then he's like, Barnett would like to dance. And then Stallone's like, well, go dance with him.
And then they just dance off.
And then he goes back, and he's just standing there like, what happened?
Yeah, the guy's like, no. What? Yeah, that was awesome.
But I mean, I think you're pointing to a thing like that we all enjoyed. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of moments like that are very well written,
Just funny.
very well delivered.
Yep.
They're timed well. They just were legitimately funny, and we were laughing along exactly the way we were supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say like 90% of this movie was like, I thought it was kind of well written or cleverly written.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not great,
Right.
but it was like we were laughing when we were supposed to.
Yeah.
The one-liners, it was very witty, but it was just, well, and Brant pointed out while we're watching, it's like the movie's, it's like a roller coaster. It's moving up, 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 and then you slide down.
Yeah. Up until about like
You fall off a cliff.
20 to 30 minutes before the end of the movie, we're like, I don't get it. Like,
Yeah,
I
why
don't understand
people
these
like
reviews.
this? Yeah.
And then, Ben, tell me what happens at the T-minus 20 to 30 minutes.
This is when well, I guess the thing that kicks it off is like they're back in New York, right?
Yeah.
And they're like he's back with his family, and all the Italians, like every Italian in New York, is together in having this party welcoming him home after 2 weeks away. And he's like they're like, you're gonna get your money back for your taxi, and he's like, no way, I'm gonna be a singer now. And Dolly Parton's trying to give him
Let him down easy.
let him down easy, and she's like, well, no, you're not a singer, you've learned one song, you're
Yeah.
only going to be singing one song. And he starts being like, oh, you're jealous of me and stuff, and there's this just
Professional jealousy.
professional jealousy, and there's this like immediate falling out between them. She's trying to tell him, be realistic, and he's like, no way, I don't want my taxi anymore. And then so they hate each other, because that's what happens in a rom-com.
Right.
And then he goes and performs. Well, I mean, there's the whole thing where he's got to go win her back and apologize to her or whatever
When she goes to try and talk the boss out of the bed.
Yeah.
which she can't do, of course, and he just wants his reward. But then she ends up knocking the dude out.
Yeah.
Then they go and they do the song, or he does the song. He gets up on stage and he starts singing it. The way they do it, I thought it was a little bit clever, because this was the only way it was going to work, right? He gets up and he starts singing, and it is bad. it's terrible,
Yeah.
but he's also, you can kind of tell that he's struggling on stage. He's not really feeling the music and stuff
Well,
like
Yeah,
that.
he hasn't
it was-
won the crowd over.
Yeah,
And
it
it was
won the crowd
packed
over.
with hecklers. Like
Intentionally, it was intentionally packed with hecklers so that he would definitely lose, so she would lose this bet.
And hecklers with like party favor horns.
Yes, right.
Right.
Blowing
in true
constantly.
hardcore New Yorker fashion.
Hey, I'm kazooing here.
So he gets fed up and he's like, fine, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose my way. And he kind of like turns around and he tells the band to speed it up. And he starts, well, he turns around, he starts talking to the crowd.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, let me hear all the hot women.
Yay.
And he's like, no, there's a lot more of you here, you know, and he starts getting the crowd going, you know, and he's like, okay, where's all the studs? And of course, all the guys are like, yeah, right. And he's like, what? That's all?
He's like, I didn't say the pansies.
Right, yeah. And so then he gets the crowd all going with him, and then he starts singing his song, but it's kind of in the style of his Tutti Frutti. Right?
Yeah.
It's the same song. It's just
it's the
sped
same
up.
song sped up,
Yeah.
and he can kind of yell a little bit while he's doing it. And because it's sped up and not so slow, it's a little bit better, you know, and but it is not
He has better
good.
accompaniment.
There's
Yeah,
a little
it's better
bit
accompaniment,
instrumentation
right.
behind him.
And we have to listen to the whole song, and it's not great. It's not good. It's one of my least favorite songs that he sang in the whole movie.
So I'm going to inject here too.
Yeah.
Like it was, they needed to find worse country singers that were all the acts that were actually getting panned off stage.
Right.
Because every
That's
single
true.
one of those sounded flawless.
They
Like,
sounded great.
They
You know,
were
there was the one
probably
guy-
like real artists that were doing little
Yeah.
guest spots.
Yeah, it sounded like any country song you would hear from the 80s.
Right.
Like it was on tune, everybody was singing fine.
Yep.
And they're just getting panned. I was like, I don't know what these New Yorkers are expecting. Like,
Right.
we need more spaghetti in our
Yeah.
country.
That's right.
Just do the paste commercial.
New York City.
It's made for real by San Antonio.
Oh man.
It was like they
Sorry.
really wanted
Yeah.
to have stand-up comedy. Like they were there to.
It kind of was because
know.
that's
It
what
did,
it took
'cause
to
that's
win
what
the crowd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then he does it, and it's painful, and you have to sit there and watch the whole thing. Luckily, the crowd gets into it because he's warmed them all up,
Yeah.
you know, and you can tell that everyone's accepting the fact that he won the crowd over, and the sleazy owner is like,
Then he wants to hire him.
yeah, that's right, he wants to hire him. Dolly jumps on stage, and then you get your breath of fresh air as she starts singing along with him, right?
Yeah.
Well, but then the movie's biggest crime
What's that?
is they do a little banter, and then they sing another song.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
It's just like you gotta know when to stop.
What I
They,
expected.
they should have ended it.
What I
Yeah.
expected was both of them to like jump in the air and like freeze,
Freeze,
frame,
yeah.
or like a flash of glitter, and as they're both like looking at each other with the mics, and it freeze frames, roll credits.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it felt like.
Yeah.
Nick went on to win 5 Grammys.
It went on. It went on for another 5 minutes, and it
Yeah.
could have
Too
just
long.
it could have
Yeah.
been
Too
done.
Nick's music ended the Cold War.
So this movie,
Yeah, it's good. Nick.
this
Nick
movie had
paid for his
a
taxi.
budget of $28 million.
Where though?
Dolly.
Did they buy that
was-
town?
It was Rhinestones.
I think it was the rhinestone costume.
It was the
Yeah,
Rhinestones.
right.
It was all the fog
and
machines.
that
The fog
cyber
machines.
horse.
Yes,
was
right. The
teaching-
horse with the
It
blinking
grossed 21.4 million
Oh.
worldwide, so it lost money.
lights. Yep.
Shockingly.
So I know we keep going back to this, but Speed 2, Cruise Control, they crashed a boat for $25 million.
Wow. That's a good
So
context.
I mean, so why don't you think this did as well as it did? I mean, do you think it was because it was Stallone not with an M40 on his arms, or slashes across his chest holding a bayonet or something, or like
The boxing gloves
I don't
on.
think
Yeah.
I don't think people want to see Sylvester Stallone sing country music.
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
I
You
can
think that's the
understand
only
that.
thing?
I don't
Prior
know.
to this, he is the tough guy, right?
Yeah.
And that's
So-
what everyone loves Stallone in this time of his career. that's all he is,
Yeah.
right? And it's like,
he's
whoa.
he's made the first 3 Rocky movies. He's made the First Blood, and then he directed the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, Staying Alive, for John Travolta in 1983, which was a big. Actually, it made a lot of money, but it was. Well, that's a whole other story. But he's kind of getting a low point with this movie.
Yeah.
This is not well received, and Sylvester Stallone's going to have many ups and downs throughout his career.
So I'm going to do another, if this, then that thing.
Yeah.
So, Stallone goes from action hero to romance and comedy. Bruce Willis goes from romance and comedy to Die Hard. Who do you think did it better?
So,
Well, he can do both, Bruce Willis. But
Okay, yeah.
I have yet to see Sylvester Stallone do a comedy.
That was
well.
rhetorical,
listen,
by the way.
I have the answer.
Okay, let's hear it.
June, domestic box office for June of 1984. So this was released the first week of June. Number 1, Ghostbusters. Number 2, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Number 3, Gremlins. Number 4, Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. Number 10, Karate Kid.
Jeez.
Wow.
Number 11 was Rhinestone, and it made $9 million in its first opening weekend, and it only made $21 million total. So, I mean, look, Splash, 16 Candles, Top Secret, Footloose, all of these movies.
That same month?
Greystoke. So these are some of them came out in March, but were still in theaters.
Dude, that is some stiff competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cannonball Run 2, Conan the Destroyer.
I'll be honest, I had not heard of this movie. I've seen most of those movies and saw them as a kid.
Yeah.
I had never heard of this movie
The original
until
Police
a few weeks
Academy.
ago when we started kind of pitching this as a movie to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it had some stiff competition.
Wow. Okay, so I mean, real question though. I mean, do you, not given that competition?
Yeah.
Let's say it was the doldrums of the movie cinematic year. Let's say they launched some other time. Do you think they would have had much better numbers? I mean, it sounds like there was people showed up, saw it, and they'd be like, "Nope, no more."
That's true.
Don't go.
Yeah.
So I think that if they would have released it now, it would do better because I mean, I don't know specifically right now, but I mean, like years later, after people kind of see more of Stallone and see him, they're more comfortable with him
Little more
not being
range.
Rocky and not being Rambo, that they'd be more comfortable with him doing something else.
Like
Plus
if this
everyone
came out
loves-
between Expendables and Expendables 2.
Right, yeah. So I don't know. I think that it was just not the right movie for him to do at that point in his career, probably.
Okay.
He didn't have enough star power to get that audience to watch a
The
romantic
rom-com
comedy.
audience, yeah. Now, would you watch Expendables 4 with Dolly Parton as the secret? Like the Chuck Norris character. She shows up.
He's behind the thing the whole time.
I would reserve the theater.
You're right. Seriously.
Do rom-coms ever make that much money? Like, aren't
Some do.
they known for not making a lot of money?
So, generally speaking, they don't cost a lot of money,
Yeah.
and so they do make
'cause
some
you shoot them in
profit.
the country.
Right.
They're like the Uva Bowl movies, right? They cost nothing
Yeah.
to make. They're very boilerplate.
Yeah.
You already know the beginning from the end, right? They cost nothing to shoot. You get a
Right.
two famous people and a bunch of supporting cast. Word shuffles the plot a little bit.
Yeah.
And you printing
If
money.
it costs $25 million to make, and you make $60 million, you've almost tripled your money.
Yeah.
We talked about the writing of this movie. This movie was written by Phil Alden Robinson and Sylvester Stallone. Phil Alden Robinson wrote movies like All of Me, Fletch, Field of Dreams, Ghost Dad, which was also a big bomb.
And
And
sneakers.
Sneakers.
I like sneakers.
Those are some big, well-known
I like Field
movies,
of Dreams,
pretty
too.
well-known
And
movies.
Fletch.
Sylvester Stallone's obviously written a lot of the Rocky movies, First Blood, Staying Alive, Cobra, Over the Top, Cliffhanger, a lot of in the Expendables franchise.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that with these writers' resumes that the dialogue was, and this, as good as it was surprisingly good. Bob Clark was the director. He had just come off of doing A Christmas Story the year before, the Christmas classic, and he's also the director of Porky's and Porky's 2, and an infamous movie, Baby Geniuses. I think the sequel to Baby Geniuses is actually known as one of the worst movies ever.
Yeah.
I keep seeing that on a list that maybe we'll visit at some point. But
do you think some of the Porky's humor? I mean, they're notoriously just 80s raunchy whatever
right.
kind of thing. It feels like some of that bled into it.
Probably,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't. I'm not an aficionado on the Porky's movies, but just the director. Maybe.
It's a lot
I
of
don't
poop
know.
and butt jokes and like, oh, whoops, we stumbled into the girls' locker room. There's boobs, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it's just a lot of that kind of like,
Okay.
not very highbrow
Well,
humor.
they didn't really have anything like that in this movie, though.
No, but like, I think some of the jokes where we kind of groaned a little bit were like
yeah.
kind of skewed more of that
That's
direction.
right. That's true.
I did want to talk about one random scene before we kind of cast judgment. I think we're kind of winding this
Yeah.
up. But there is a scene when Sylvester Stallone's at Dolly Parton's house in the country with her dad, and he leaves. I can't remember. They kind of get into an argument.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Right, I know exactly what
He
you're
says,
doing.
"I'm leaving."
He leaves and he goes out. He starts to walk to the bar in town or whatever, and he walks out, and it's all of a sudden it's complete.
you remembered this.
It's it's like that scene from Jim Cotta almost, only it's more
Town of the
condensed.
Crazies.
The Town of Crazies. He walks into he's just walking in the
It's
street.
foggy.
There's just all it's
It's
fog.
like
country
it's like
road.
pea soup fog.
Like you
Yeah.
literally can't see anything 20 feet ahead of you.
And he's like
Fog.
walking through like a cow pasture or something. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
And just like Large Marge pulls up in Pee-wee's Big Adventure with her semi-truck and talks to Pee-wee Herman. This gentleman, we'll just call him a gentleman because we don't know his name,
Yep.
pulls up in his truck, and what does he say to Sylvester Stallone?
He's like, get in the truck.
Get in.
He says, "You got pretty teeth."
Okay, so remember that scene where we went on and on and on about it in Jim Cotta and how like the atmosphere and
So creepy.
the people were like from a real
From a
insane
real-
asylum.
yeah.
What did this guy? I mean,
Absolutely
he
gave
was
off
out
those
of.
vibes.
He drove up from Jim Cotta, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing him like in the background anywhere else. He's got he's got that country truck. He's got
Yeah.
a couple rifles on a rifle rack
Shotguns
inside
in
the
the
cab,
back.
Yes, yes.
right? And
He has no teeth.
all of us are
Yeah,
kind of like
no
looking at each other like, what is happening right now? Like,
Listen,
who is this guy?
The whole time I was thinking this is her ex-boyfriend.
oh yeah,
Because
I thought it was
there
Barnett.
was this whole thing about the dad was like, "Oh, Barnett knows she's in town," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the lunatic, and this is not good news for him
That's
to
what
know."
I thought too.
Right.
Right. Maybe that's what. Maybe they threw that in there
Maybe
so
it's
we
on
would
purpose.
think it was the
Yeah.
ex. And because the next scene is when
Oh,
he
that's right,
meets
'cause we
him,
didn't- yeah,
and then
and
we
he's
think,
this
oh,
charming guy.
it can't be that
Right.
guy because he's really nice.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It was a
Oh,
false
man.
flag.
But that guy was scary. He's like,
It-
"Get in the truck," and he's
So-
like,
And then he's like, why?
no.
He was like, why won't you get in?
And Sylvester Stallone, I mean, he is, muscle bound, this big guy, and he's kind of scared too. He's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to get into the truck. He's like, he's like making excuses and like,
Yeah.
you get out of here before you're causing traffic.
it's a
you gotta get
traffic
out.
jam. Yeah.
And I'm leaving now. And just, I mean, it was
so out of place. It was
so
great.
random.
Yeah.
It was.
I'm really
the city of
disappointed at
crazies.
us that we did not come up with a side plot to explain that
gosh,
guy away.
yeah.
I think all of us were just so confused, and then we saw real Barnett.
Yeah.
That it kind of disappeared. But
Yep.
like, what do you think he was actually going to do?
He was the owner of that hog they kept referencing.
That's right.
He was the
He's
hog.
like-
What's your name? I'm the hog.
I'm a hog.
I wish there had been some kind of closure to that because I was really sad when they went back to New York and that.
It's such
Like,
a
what
just
happened?
a random thing,
Yeah.
and it
I
was
think it would have been
great.
funny if he like at the end of the movie he like opens his shirt and has like an I Heart New York shirt on. He's like, I just really like New York.
So I'm not even gonna cast my judgment yet, but on just that scene alone, like
Oh, man.
that movie is worth watching
Yeah.
just for that
Seriously,
because
it
it's
is.
so It's just startling.
So it comes out of left field.
It really does, yeah. Okay. So on that note, is there anything else anybody wants to touch, or maybe should we just cast judgment?
Let's judge.
All right, who would like to go first?
I went first last time.
I'll go first this time.
All right, Ben.
All
you're
right.
up.
So here's the thing. This movie is very funny. I enjoyed it almost through the whole thing. I really feel like even Stallone's terrible singing, it's fun to watch how bad he is, right? And it's like, okay. Even the end where it just fell off the cliff and everything, it was still like fun to watch. So, Stallone absolutely was trying to play, like he was sincerely trying to be this character and also sincerely hamming it up, right? He was doing a good job. Dolly Parton, so charming, totally fun to watch. And everyone in this was great. So, this was a fun movie. It is a bad movie. I mean, there's a lot of badness in it. And so I think 100% this is exceptionally bad. And I can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so fun, and I can't wait to show it to someone else and say, can you believe this exists?
The question's going to be, how are you going to be able to show anybody?
Yeah, right. That's
Bracken's
right. How am I
the
going
only
to find
one
it?
with
So
the,
you
copy.
someone with a copy,
Oh, yeah,
so
that's right.
you can borrow it from me.
I feel like this
But-
is a couple's night.
I do want my copy back.
Yeah, right.
Because I want to watch this movie again too. All right, who's up next?
I'll go.
Okay.
So, yeah, I agree with everything you said, Ben. Like, I think this is the perfect, exceptionally bad movie.
Yes.
Like, it's not good.
Yeah.
But, like, we had a lot of fun with it. We were laughing at the right points. We were making fun of plenty of points. It's weirdly bizarre in a lot of places and doesn't quite fit. You know, we've already talked about, Dolly and, and Stallone as well. Honestly, I think for any other conflicts, we need to stop developing bombs. We just need to drop Stallone in his Rambo getup, and if that doesn't scare him off, we airdrop in Dolly and she'll just charm everybody. Be like, "Well, hey y'all, let's just all have a good time together. I'm gonna sing a song, right?" Everybody sings along, right? So, like, she has that kind of power, in this movie, and brings just an atomic level of charm to the movie. So, I had a ton of fun with it. It's absolutely exceptionally bad, though. So that's my review.
All right.
Want me to go?
Sure.
Okay. Well, first of all, I got to do a little bit of backpedaling here. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I love you. Your singing is not as bad as Sylvester Stallone. Just got caught up in my argument with Bracken. Just please forgive me. So we didn't mention it.
Call
But
him.
this got nominated for a lot of Razzies, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think that. I think this is just like Sandy B getting like the worst actress.
right.
And I don't think his
acting was
think his
good.
acting was bad.
Right.
Like I think the role was like, you got to play this over the top, New Yorker guy that can't sing and is real silly, and it's like almost slapsticky for you, and I think he nailed it. I thought he did a great job. You're right, like a charm offensive by Dolly Parton could bring peace to this world.
Really,
And-
really.
This is 100% exceptionally bad. Like for a good chunk of the movie, I'm like, this isn't even bad.
Yeah.
It's so fun. So yeah, I'm exceptionally bad all the way.
I was just looking at the stats. It actually was nominated as one of the worst musicals of the Razzies' first 25 years.
Well, I could see that. The music wasn't great.
His music wasn't great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the songs she was singing she was great in them, but the music it wasn't.
She had a couple top
had
10 hits.
This
from
was a big
Yeah.
thing for her music-wise.
This is like a Xanadu situation.
Was it Tutti Frutti?
God Won't Get You and the chart-topping Tennessee Homesick Blues were two top singles.
And
from
she
this movie.
talks about how she loves the music from this film
Yeah.
that she wrote for.
Great. Now I got to do another backpedaling. Sorry, Dolly.
Listen, I would rather have The Rock pissed at me than Dolly.
That's right.
One of those two people is going to be standing at the pearly gates looking very disappointed.
So I'm announcing this is my last episode. Creative differences is what they're going to say.
I'm just glad Sylvester Stallone turned down the male lead for Romancing the Stone and Beverly Hills Cop to do this movie.
Could you
We didn't even
imagine
talk about
Stallone
that.
and Kathleen?
Can you imagine? I mean,
Well, who would have thought that
It
Stallone
would have
and
been
Dolly
a very
Parton?
different movie.
I know, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That's a
So-
good point. That's actually a very good point.
Just on that basis alone, I'm grateful for this movie. I agree with what all you said, all three of you. This
Nate
movie.
didn't finish his judgment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I don't. No, it's
Oh, did
actually,
you?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
actually bad.
Okay.
Okay. I agree with all three of you. This movie was entertaining, surprisingly so fun.
Yeah.
Never got slow except for until 5 minutes till the end credits when
Right.
it should have ended.
Yeah.
Then
After the first
and then
song.
they went into another song.
Right.
But the story's over at that point. So, just fun cast. Man, we talked about the scene stealing, the dialogue, the train wreck that this movie is. We never even really talked about his final costume. It's like he walked under a rhinestone waterfall, and it just kind of poured out over him. It's just so many rhinestones just dripping
those
off
are
of
the
him.
18-inch
And then he gets on a
tassels.
horse to get over to Dolly's place, and it's covered in rhinestones and rhinestone cowboy, and that's what they were
And-
going for.
Well,
I noticed as he was singing his last song, he's doing this weird little kind of jaunty dance back and forth just to make his rhinestones swing.
Nope. That was jock itch. He had just ridden a horse, and he's like, I got to air out these dogs.
So I gotta say though, that you mentioned riding the horse over. So he rides the horse over to the dude's apartment building, and the horse right into the lobby,
right.
and the security guards are like, "Hey, you can't do this!" And he's like, "I'm going to see Freddie, whatever his last
Freddie
name is."
Hugo.
Hugo, and the guy's like, "Oh," and then like another cop comes up, he's like, "What does he think he's doing?" He's like, "He's going up to Freddie Hugo." Oh,
That was so funny.
Freddie Hugo's got such the reputation.
He's a
that
creeper.
they're
Yeah,
like,
nobody even-
okay, they got it. This movie's exceptionally bad.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. If you want to buy it on eBay, maybe I should just list my copy, and it cost me $26. So
We need to all sign it. And I bet you we could double their,
that would
their,
probably sell for
their
27.
gross.
To be perfectly honest, I
return.
think I want to keep my copy.
Right,
So
yeah.
I'll be happy to lend it to you guys to share with your families. But
You could get that
I think
signed
I'm
by
glad that was a
Sly
gamble,
and
but I'm glad I got it. So
Yeah.
anyway, any final thoughts? Season of the rom-com. So
We got two more romantic
we've got
comedies
two more
coming up.
selections, and then we'll have a kind of a vote off and see which was the most exceptionally bad
That's right.
rom-com.
We have two good contenders, two unanimous, exceptionally bad so far.
And then we'll have three other mini seasons with different topics, which will be coming your way. We'll discuss as it develops. So we're glad that you can listen to us today, and you got to the end of the episode. How do we get feedback from our listeners?
How about Instagram at exceptionally bad?
the website, exceptionallybad.com.
You can email us at theguys@exceptionallybad.com.
And we don't know what's happening with Twitter, so you could just at Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Should we pay the $8 and get verified?
Or you can at exceptionally bad. So take that E off the exceptionally bad.
That's right.
Yeah.
I already spent $26 on this movie. Do I have to spend another $8?
Yeah, that's like
It'll be
Look,
so
you're
good.
not real unless you have the blue check mark that you
Yeah.
paid $8 for.
Does everyone have
Boy.
your address yet, Bracken?
I don't know, but what's your fascination with my address, Danny?
I just want
My
want
wife
you to
keeps
receive
asking. My wife keeps saying, "What is Danny? What's the story with?"
Why do
the
I keep
address?"
getting these headshots
My-
delivered to our house?
I want you to receive like physical fan mail so bad. It would be so funny if somehow I just let it out and just I don't know.
what I think is that Danny wants your address for himself.
Oh,
And he's hoping you'll spill the beans.
Listen,
Like,
Danny,
Bracken
really
will
wanna
not
come over,
tell me
Bracken. I
where
really
where
wanna
he
come over.
lives.
I told everybody on the crew that they can't tell producer Danny where I live.
Danny, these are supervised visits. You do not get to break.
Making me feel really.
You're restraining
They
order.
put a blindfold on you when you go to his house for a reason.
Bracken, get in my truck. Get in my truck.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Freddie, there are two kinds of people in this world, and you ain't one of them.
Bad movies with your friends. Bad movies with your friends. Oh, yeah.
Ugh, that was terrible. Can we fix that in post?